Hello, this is Michelle, and I'm here to give you some EdTech tips. And what I'm going to show you today is how you can use Google Calendar to create a new calendar and use that for your classroom assignments. And then you can also embed this calendar into something like Blackboard so that it looks like it's just a part of the same web page where you have everything else. Now, if you're using something else, if you happen to be using Google Classroom, or if you're using something like Canvas or the Blackboard Learning Management System, I'm going to show you how to embed this into the Blackboard website, but that's not the same thing as the Blackboard Learning Management System. If you're using some of those things, you may have a better way to put your assignments on a calendar, but this is for people who don't have that better way to put their assignments on a calendar. I actually tried the calendar inside the Blackboard website and I wasn't really happy with it, so this was the better idea that I had, to make this calendar and then put it inside Blackboard. So the very first thing is I'm going to just assume that you have a Google account already. If you don't have that, you can actually create one when you first go to calendars.google.com. But this is what happens when I go to this website, just calendar.google.com, and it actually just takes me straight to this blank calendar. Now, this is the default calendar. It already creates this calendar for you. It will pop up with all of these things already showing, but it already creates this calendar for you. I created a separate account just so it would be blank and I could show you what it looks like. If you already have a Google account and you already have a Google Calendar, all your things will be showing inside of this calendar. And that's not, you don't want to use that to put your class assignments on, but Google does allow you to create other calendars too. So the first thing I'm going to do, just to make sure that it's not so confusing, is I'm going to turn off all of these other calendars. It may not let, okay, I thought it might not let me turn them all off, but it did. I'm going to turn off all of these other calendars, and I want to create a brand new calendar just for the purpose of putting the class assignments on. Now, if you are a high school or a middle school teacher and you teach 5 or 6 classes all day long, you're probably going to want to make 5 or 6 different calendars, one for each class. I'm just going to show you how to make one, but the process is the same for all of them. So where this says other calendars, I'm going to click this plus sign to add other calendars, and I'm actually going to create a new calendar. You could pull other calendars in so that you could see them if you already had some created or somebody else was sharing one with you. But in this case, I don't have a new calendar. I want to make a new one, so I'm going to click the Create New Calendar. It pops up and allows me to name the calendar, and in my case, I'm just going to name it Class Assignment Calendar. You can name it whatever you want to name it, and just remember, like I said, if you are a high school or middle school teacher, you probably want to name it something more specific, like Class Assignment Calendar Hour 1, Class Assignment Calendar Hour 2, or you may want to name it Class Assignment Calendar Geometry or something like that. For the description, I'm basically just going to, this is a calendar to post student assignments for the class. And again, you may want to be more specific if you have more than one class. It should automatically pop up the time zone that's for your Google account, but if that's not the correct time zone that popped up for you, you can just use the down arrow and change it to whatever time zone is the right one for you. And then I am just going to click Create Calendar. And then it's going to say that that calendar is successfully created. And I'm going to click Configure. And the main thing I want to change is under the access permissions. Well, first of all, I don't want to add the invitations. I do want to change this to do not show invitations. But secondly, I want to check this box that says make available to public. So technically, you could get this shareable link, you could copy this link, and you could send this an email to your students if you just want your students to look at the calendar. But the problem with that is I want to put this calendar on the website. And if I put it on the website, and I have not made it public, Google is going to say, well, anybody could open this calendar on the website, so they're not going to show it. They're not going to allow it to display. So I want to click this button to make it available to public. That way I'll be able to put it on the website. This is a warning about, are you really sure you want to do that? But you have to remember, we're not putting students' names on this calendar. We're not putting grades. What we're putting on here are things like do problems 1 through 14 on page 74. That's the kind of thing that we really don't care if the world sees that. So when it says, are you sure? We're just going to say yes. And I'm just going to show you this. You don't need to change this because we do want to see all event details, because you want to see the description of what is the instructions, what are you supposed to do to complete this assignment, instead of only showing that there's an event, because that won't be very helpful to the student. So leave it on see all event details. That's basically all we need to do here, and there is no save button. So we are going to click the back arrow right here to go back to the calendar view, and now you see that we have this calendar in the list of calendars, and the box is checked, so it will show anything that's on the calendar. I just haven't put anything on the calendar yet. Again, if you haven't unchecked these, you may want to uncheck them at this point so that you can just see the main calendar. Just remember that if you are using your normal Google account and you do use a Google Calendar personally for yourself, when you come back to look at your personal calendar, you're going to need to check it, or it's not going to show up. You probably even want to check it before you leave, in case you have notifications and things like that, to make sure they still show up for you. But I'm leaving it so that only this one calendar is showing. So while we're here, I'm going to show you how to create an assignment on the calendar. And all I have to do is, let's just say there's an assignment due on Friday. I just click anywhere on Friday, and it pops up this thing to allow me to create an assignment. And I am going to say this assignment is called Chapter Review. And I would recommend not to change the time, because if you don't add a time, it just makes it for the whole day, and that just means the assignment is due sometime today. Then under description, I'm going to add the actual instructions. That in this case, I'm just going to say do questions 1 through 14 from chapter review on page 173. Then submit them to me through email. You may have some other way you want them to submit, but just remember, during this digital learning time, we do need to tell them how we want them to send them back, no matter what that is. Make sure they know. If you had some kind of document that you needed to attach, for instance, say it wasn't something in the textbook that you wanted them to do, but you actually had some kind of worksheet or project explanation sheet or something, you could actually just click attachment, search for that on your computer, and you could add that attachment right here, and the students would be able to click that and download that. Make sure that it is set on the right calendar. In this case it is, but make sure it didn't go back to your personal calendar or something like that. And then we're just going to click the save button to save it. Now there's more options. You could click that, and I will go into it a different way and show you that same thing, but for right now I want to show you that you simply can click save, and the assignment is on the calendar. If students came to this calendar right now, they would see this assignment. They could click the assignment, and it would show them any details that you wrote about how to do this assignment. Now I'm going to click this edit pencil. Students wouldn't have this. This would only be you. When I click the edit pencil, it's going to open it up, and this is the same thing that you would have seen if you had clicked more options on the other screen. And it really is just the same things again that you could type. You could change the title of it. You could change the date if you got the date wrong. If you uncheck this box, this is where you could change the time, but remember, I'm recommending you don't even put a time on it. Unless you do have something that for some reason you want them to definitely have it turned into you by 9 o'clock that morning, then that's where you would do that. You would change that and put a time there. But once you're finished changing things here, you do have to click save to go back to the main calendar and to save anything that you changed. So now the assignment is on the calendar, and like I said, students could see it, but for right now, how would they see it? They wouldn't know how to get to it. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to embed this calendar into another place. In this case, I'm going to show you how to do it in Blackboard. If you're using something besides Blackboard, it should be very similar. The wording of what you're looking for should be very similar, but I'm going to show you how to do it in Blackboard, the website Blackboard. So I want to click the settings icon right here, and then I want to click the word settings. And once I'm in settings, I want to click the calendar that I am looking for, class assignment calendar. And I want to go to the setting called integrate calendar because I want to integrate this calendar into Blackboard. Now I could just click here and copy, right click and copy, and I could go paste this into Blackboard just like it is, and it would show just like it is. But before I do that, I want to show you this button that says customize. If you click this customize button, there are some different ways that we could show this calendar to the students by default, and I believe they can still change how they see it, but we could change what we're showing them by default. Right now it's set up for a whole month. We might prefer that the students see a week at the time, or there actually is an option called agenda that really makes it look like a list. And we might prefer that they see it as a list. If there were other assignments, you would see the other dates down here they would be showing, and the student could see it all as one list, sort of like a to-do list. Month is the default already, but if you like, let's say you like the agenda view, you want it to look like an agenda, then what you would do, this only shows you what it looks like, it doesn't actually change it, but you would go over here and change the default view to agenda. And that changes this code at the top. So you don't have to worry about what's in the code. It just automatically changes it. We could do some other things. If I want to take the time zone off, I could. It doesn't remove the time zone from the calendar. It only removes it from what's showing if you think that's too much, too distracting or whatever. I'm going to leave it there though. If I wanted them to not be able to change to different dates, I could take the navigation buttons off and that would stop that. However, I'm not so sure I want that. I want them to be able to look and see what assignments are coming up. But all of these things, if I wanted them to not be able to print the calendar, I could take that off. I don't see a reason why you would want that because that's probably a good thing. But I'm just showing you could change any of these options. I can even change the background color. I'm going to leave it as the blue simply because it's going to match the website if I leave it as blue. I could change the language. Again, I could change the time zone, but that's not really what I want to do. I could change the width and the height of it, but I would recommend that you don't do that. Just leave that alone. So while it's on agenda, I'm going to go, if I click these two little, what looks like two little pieces of paper, that will copy, and it says at the bottom, it copied it to my clipboard. So now I go to my Blackboard website where I'm editing, and the app is called Embed Code. If you're not using Blackboard and you're using something else, you're going to look for something that has a similar name to this. This is exactly what you're trying to do, is embed code. I'm going to drag that over to my main part of the screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it Class Assignment Calendar. Now, if that's all I do, that doesn't mean anything. That's never going to show up anywhere. But when I click the pencil to go into edit, the first thing I'm going to do before I forget it is I'm going to go to options, and I'm going to check this box that says show the app name on my page, and that will make whatever I typed here show up on the page. And then I'm going to click save options. Right now, if I go back over here and I reload my page, that's going to be all I see is a blue bar with that name. But that's what I want. I do want it to say class assignment calendar. So the next thing I need to do is, if you're not already in it, of course you would click the pencil. but I want to be on the edit side. And remember that when I was over here, I clicked the copy and I'd have something copied in my clipboard. So now there's two ways. You can either right click your mouse and click paste, or you could hold down the control button and click V. Either way, paste the code in. But the point is you want to paste the code in. It doesn't matter if you know what the code means or not. All that matters is that you get the code in there. And remember that the code is going to show exactly what you have selected over on the left-hand side. So for now, it should show an agenda. I'm going to click Save. And once I click Save, I can go back to my page and reload my page. You have to reload every time. And once I reload the page, there is my calendar showing up on my website. And it shows up as an agenda because that's what I picked. Now notice the student can change it, or whoever's looking at it can change it if they want to, but it starts out as agenda because that's what I picked. If I wanted it to start out as a weekly view, I would just change this to week. I would copy this code again and go back to my edit. I want to delete all of this code off because I don't want the calendar twice, and I'm going to do something to paste again, whether that's right click and paste or whether it's hold down the control button and hit V. I have to save again to make those changes, and then when I go back to my page and I reload my page again, now it shows up as a week. And again, the student can change it to something else if they want to, but it starts out showing up as a week. And that's how you get your calendar on the website, at least in Blackboard. And like I said, if you're using something different, you would just search for something that is similar to embed code and whatever you're using. Also, if you're a high school or a middle school teacher and you have all those extra classes, all you have to do is drag out more embed codes and put them down here. If you drag more embed codes, then you could change this name to something like class assignment calendar for geometry. And remember, I have to go to options and tell it to show that name on the page. And so that, when I reload the page, puts another blue bar down at the bottom. And then I could embed the code. I'm already in it. I could embed the code for the other calendar that I create. Now, you don't have to create separate ones. You could actually delete this, and where you embedded this code, you could actually skip a couple of spaces and embed the code for a second calendar, a third, fourth, fifth. The only difference is you're not going to have that nice blue header in between. Or whatever matches your website, you're not going to have that nice header in between. It's just going to be one calendar after the other without any header. Now, it does have the name of the calendar here, but it won't have that header to divide the calendars if you just type them this way. If you want to get out of that, if you actually do new ones, you can do the thing where you show the name of the app and it will have those nice headers in between. But that's how to create a calendar in Google to use for a class assignment calendar, and that's how to embed it inside a Blackboard web page, and anything else you want to embed it inside, you would be looking for something similar like embed code.